Bad boy.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You have tuned in to the flyest sports and entertainment podcast in all the land. This is Stat Lines Matter. I'm your host, as always, Mark E. Stewart. Sitting here with my partner in crime, as always, Mr. Rob Hunter Jr.
What's happening, everybody?
Listen, first of all, before we get into this, I want to ask you and thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And I would like for you to, if you haven't already, go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, like, and get the notification so you know when we're putting things out. And also you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any place where there's podcasts are available. And also follow us on our social media, which is at Stat Lines Matter at Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and I guess that's it. I guess that's all our stuff. And Instagram. So check in with us there. We have different content that's going in different spaces. And you can keep up on what's going on with me and Rob in our personal lives, as well as our lives reporting on sports and entertainment. So, Mr. Hunter.
Yo.
Couple quick things that we got to do. We would be remiss. Shout out to Jason. That was his favorite line. I would be remiss. We would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the official union of Rihanna and ASAP Rocky through their child. They announced the other day that they're pregnant. I guess that's exciting. Everybody tweeted about it. Everybody Instagrammed it. You know, I guess it means that we're not getting the Rihanna album.
I mean, it made me remiss because I was finna make my move. You know, I think
a lot of people felt that way.
I was like, yo, all right, this is the time. You know what I'm saying? You know, if she say yeah, the wife just gonna have to understand.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, somebody need to check on Drake.
And I was about to ask you for the number and everything.
I ain't got the number. I ain't got the number.
Yeah, so they having a baby, and she said she planning to have a whole lot more. So ASAP, you beat me to it, man. Best man won.
Hey, I'll tell you something that on a serious tip about Rihanna. I have so much respect for her as a businesswoman. She's done everything on her terms, the way she wants to do it. She's a lot of times, you know, people have that order of things. Women have that order of things that they want to do. They say, okay, I want to get my career. I want to build. I want to grow. She conquered music. She conquered makeup. She conquered fashion or lingerie or whatever. And now she's settling down and having a family. And that's awesome. I take my hat off to her.
Yeah, and I mean, for ASAP to make it back, you know, to the mainland and land that. I mean, because he was in trouble, 2-3 years ago, and now.
You talking about that situation in Sweden?
Yeah, it's in Sweden, and now he back.
I don't know if that was trouble. He was detained like 27 minutes.
It was like 2 weeks.
Was it that short?
It was like 2 weeks. He was asking for help. You know.
Yeah,
get me out of
yeah.
here.
They had him hemmed up, but it got sorted out. Was that one of those things that Trump did Trump fix that for him?
Did he? Y'all, he
was
did.
That Trump? Was Trump fix that for him? Well, okay.
So I got Trump to blame for me not being able to get at Rihanna. Another thing.
I don't know.
Another thing.
That might be a little bit of a stretch. But no, shout out to her. Also in the news, Tom Brady. I think we can call him the GOAT. Officially call him the GOAT. I don't think there's any argument there, especially if you're judging off the amount of winning that he does. Has decided to hang it up at the age of 44 after, 22 seasons?
Long time.
That's a long time, but that's a long time in any sport, particularly football, where the average career is, 3 years, 3.5 years?
Yeah, and I mean, that is the average, I believe it's...
Or average running. I'm sorry, that was always running back. Yeah, facts.
But
it can be much longer for any other position.
I mean, and if it is, it's because of his tenure. They gotta put his number in there.
It's factored in,
because I mean, and you know, last week or was the week before last when he lost, that was only the fourth time in his entire year in his entire career that he didn't make it out of the divisional round.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Only the fourth time.
Yeah, like get your head around that.
I looked at that stat and I was trying to. I'm like, so if he's a quarterback, you know, it's 18, like he's going to.
At least an AFC championship game.
Crazy.
And I think that where you're going to really develop an appreciation for what he's accomplished is as the years go on and you start to see Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, the kid that plays for the Chargers. You see this new crop of quarterbacks. And when we start to measure their accomplishments, they're going to always pale. All those guys, I'm going to say it right now, all those guys are going to retire nowhere near the stratosphere of where Tom Brady left.
So you look at, I was thinking about this. You look at, we lost Drew last year. And
I mean,
he's still alive.
He's still here.
Still alive.
Yeah, he's with us.
Drew, Tom, and Sean Payton. I mean, that's a lot of wins. That's a lot of great.
And don't leave out Ben. We lost Ben Roethlisberger this year.
Ben too, yeah.
And we lost Phillip Rivers last year and Eli Manning the year before. So that collective of quarterbacks that happened, I guess, what is that? I want to say around, well, obviously Brady was a little bit before them and he lasted through them, which is an incredible testimony to him. The era has changed. It's like like you said, losing Peyton. I believe Peyton will coach again. I think he's going to take some time off and go take that Dallas job. I think it's pretty much that seems like it's set. Unless like the Cowboys figure out how to win the Super Bowl this year, upcoming, I think you can go ahead and punch him in Dallas. But it's definitely the end of an era. This guy, if you're like a casual fan and you don't know, Tom Brady is retiring with just about every meaningful passing record. He has the most completions. He has the most attempts. He has the most yards. He has the most touchdown passes. He has the most wins as a quarterback. He has the most appearances in a Super Bowl. He has the most Super Bowl wins as a quarterback. It's like everything that you can do as a quarterback, maybe with the exception of maybe quarterback rating, he is going to retire as the record holder. And the only thing I could possibly see maybe coming down is yardage, only because of how the game is played now. It's more video game style, and some of these guys you see just throwing all over the place. But his records in many ways are records of longevity, as well as proficiency, because he ended his career with a 5,000-yard season.
I mean, number one in the league this year.
Yeah, so it's not like there was some decline in his play. He's just saying, my body's taking enough. My wife wants me to come home. And I think, if we're being honest, I think Giselle had a lot to do with it. Not in a negative way. I think it was like there's a point where you got to go, you got to plug back into your family life, because the training and the commitment of an athlete is on a whole nother level. But I tip my cap to Tom. What an amazing career.
Particularly the way that he does it with the dieting.
Yeah.
And
avocado ice cream. Like, just the fact that you ate that, just because that sounds disgusting. I mean, it looks like I don't eat avocado ice cream. It looks like I eat regular chocolate. Full of dairy, full of nuts, and full of marshmallow, Rocky Road, all that. I don't eat no avocado. I should, though.
Easy with all that.
Because here's the thing. That guy looks like he's getting younger. Did you see that little face morphing thing?
No.
It's a face. ESPN had it on their IG yesterday. It's a face morphing thing that shows his face from the combine. Kind of fat, jowls, the whole nine, and it morphs all the way to how he looks now. It is literally reverse aging.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and you look at like he's kind of like LeBron, where they take all this pride.
He's not really like LeBron.
They spend all this money on their.
He's not like LeBron. I just want to say, I want to pause you. He wins in the championship. He's been to the championship 10 times. He's won it 7. That's not like LeBron. But go ahead. I digress.
Okay. I mean, anyway, they spend a lot of money on their body.
Oh yeah, and I mean, they're human, they're male.
That was the
and they spend money on their bodies. Shout out to LeBron. LeBron has lost 6 of the 10 times he's been in the finals.
I'm not.
I didn't say that for you to respond. There's no response to that. That's the truth. Anyways, so shout out to Tom. Tom, we wish you the best in your future endeavors, but thank you for what you've contributed to the game. And it's funny, I'll say this in closing. I've rooted against Tom a lot. Or not rooted against, I just didn't care if they won. I don't have any feeling about the Patriots one way or another, but it got to a point where I got tired of seeing them win. But you have to respect his accomplishments. And I think selfishly, I wish that he would have done one more season to take the victory lap and let everybody really give him the send-off. Because this is like Jordan. Like, this is like Jordan leaving the game. Like, you're not going to see another one of these. You might see guys that fill up the stat book, but the winning, the commitment, all of that, you're just not going to see it. And it's rare. Like,
and particularly with him taking less money. He was never the highest paid quarterback.
a lot like Mike. A lot like that's how Mike was until those last 2 years.
Yeah, but he never ever banged the cash register like that. Like,
No.
Not even then.
Yeah,
Which is pretty, that's rare.
Yeah.
For a guy to do. I mean, you look at the Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, all these, and I'm battling hiccups today, guys. If you, but with him not ever demanding that, pretty unique.
Yeah, it's I think he prioritized winning, like I think like a lot of the great ones do, and then the business, and like I think there's plenty of money for him to make off the field, and that he made off the field, and I think he's going to be fine. But it says a lot about him that he didn't press the issue until the end of his career. Let's get into this NFL situation. We had an amazing weekend of games. At the time of this taping, we have literally just had the most amazing round of championship games. I won't say ever, but I'll say in recent years. All the games were close and competitive. It was a little bit of a surprise in Cincinnati going into Arrowhead, going into Kansas City and getting a win. And I think it was a bit of a coronation for Joe Burrow. It's hard to call it a coronation because he's won a Heisman, he won a national championship,
And a state championship.
in a state championship. So he's definitely shown himself as a winner. But I don't think that anyone other than obviously my man on ESPN, Dan Orlovsky, who predicted this, but I think most people saw this ascension happening a little bit slower. What's your assessment of Burrow, Cincinnati's rise? Like, give me, like, obviously hindsight is 2020, but give me your sense of it right now, how you feel about it right now.
I'm completely as surprised as everybody else. I didn't see this coming, particularly after the first year, and then you see they went through some struggles late in the season. But it just goes to show you that you can get hot at the right time. This is only their fourth time, I believe, them advancing to the AFC Championship game, and now obviously to the Super Bowl. Especially where they won it. They won it in Arrowhead.
Yes.
That's a hard place to win in the regular season. So taking on, and then you got obviously Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl NFL MVP. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I think when you look at Cincinnati's rise, I think it's like, I think what they offer is hope, right? In a league that tries to promote parity, they offer hope in this regard, is that if you can get yourself into the tournament, anything could happen, because it fell their way. I mean, getting a Las Vegas team that I don't want to say was happy to be in the playoffs, but really, by all accounts, shouldn't have been in the playoffs based on the things that happened during the season and topsy-turvy, the stuff with Gruden and the whole nine, locker room being divided, and somehow they found a way to get in. Then you catch a Tennessee team, which is very, very well coached, but they don't have their best player. Receivers were a little broken. That team hadn't really gelled and still managed to be, I still try to figure out how they managed to still be the number one seed. But they were a number one seed that was just beaten and broken. They didn't have their Derrick Henry. So they caught a team there and they just kind of stuck, they just kept punching and cutting, and, they got the last field goal. And then went in and won the real game that you had to go win and found a way to pull it off. But I also think they did it with the help of Kansas City. I didn't rewatch the game yet, and I haven't broken it down statistically, but I felt like just on the eye test, I felt like Kansas City got arrogant. I felt like they got like they wanted to style point their way into the Super Bowl, because you could have kept handing the ball off. You had I won't say a big lead, but you had a lead. You gave up the balance. Yeah, but I don't think 21-3 in 2022 is the same lead as it was in 92 or 2002.
It's not. That's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, but we know, particularly guys like Jamar Chase, like Burrow, guys like that, they can put up big plays, chunk plays, right? So you still got to play football. You can't air. I'm saying, to the point I'm making, you can't take the air out of the ball, but you got to, I think you balance, you run, you try to keep them honest. When you get those 3 and outs because you're trying to make sure that Tyreek gets the ball, you're trying to make sure, everything is going, it's kind of like, you played a little bit into their hands, and I think there was a little bit arrogance at the end of the first half too. Like it's 5 seconds. Kick the field goal.
You lost by 3.
Don't be cute.
You lost by 3.
You lost by 3.
Fam.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it changed how the game was played. It gave them a boost. It gave them a shot in the arm. I think it was deflating to Kansas City in some ways. Like, it's kind of funny because I sent you a text earlier before the game. It's very complimentary of Andy Reid and the success that he's had between the Eagles and Kansas City, because I legitimately thought this game was, before they played it, I literally was like, even though Cincinnati beat them at the end of the season, I was just like, there's no way they're going to lose this game. This is Andy Reid. This is a chance to make adjustments. He's one of the best coaches at that. And then now you got to look at Andy Reid and go, I think maybe on some level he cost his team the game, or he has to at least take responsibility, because first of all, it's 5 seconds left to go in the half. You probably need 8 seconds to run a whole play. So whatever you did, you had to run a quick hitter, and it had to be into the end zone. Yeah. And the fact that Mahomes because I don't think the play was designed to go outside, but I think Mahomes had a brain fart, took the check down that was there. The play was probably designed to go to Kelsey, right?
Right. I think he was just going through his progression, right?
Right.
At that point, just muscle memory.
And he lost.
This is the progression.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Tom so good. Right?
Yeah.
Because he's
not going to do that.
He doesn't make that play.
No, he's not going to make that play.
You drew that distinction back when during the Super Bowl when Matt Ryan took the sack. Right?
Yep. Yes, it's a small thing, and you're not going to blame Matt Ryan for that for the whole game, but Brady don't take the sack there.
Right. And Brady doesn't throw that check down.
Exactly. And that's kind of sometimes the difference between going to the Super Bowl 10 times and winning 7. You know what I mean? Like, it really was a game that he should have got there. But at the same time, you look at this kid Burrow, man, and every advanced stat is pointing to this guy being special. And
it just goes to show you, right? Get the quarterback right.
It'll cover everything else, because let's seriously, and I am a fan of a very terrible organization. Like, I'm talking about organizationally top down is bad and has been bad my entire life, with the exception of a period from 84 to 92 where we were good and 1 year where we were great. Cincinnati's worse than us as an organization. Mike Brown, I have friends that have played for Cincinnati tell some amazing stories about how that thing works over there. You get the quarterback right and you get him some weapons, and it'll cover up a lot of the crap. Now they look dangerous. Here's the thing, too. I'm shocked about the defense. Defense made adjustments, and made plays in the second half. Man, and that, again, no one's talking about it a lot, but that pass that Mahomes threw in the overtime period, where he pretty much put it right on Tyreek Hill, and my man, whose name I don't know, came across. He was a safety, made a break on the ball, and got his hand in and tapped it and broke it up to his man. That was the game. It was over.
Yeah.
It was just a great defensive play, because it wasn't a bad throw. He put it right on him.
So you look at the overtime rules, and here was one where it actually worked out.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even though Mahomes gets the ball first, but Cincinnati comes up with the stop.
Yeah.
Right. And the Bills couldn't do that.
Right. And listen, the NFL game looks a lot like Madden now, right? It's very offensive. The rules are set for offensive teams to win and succeed. But it still comes down to, can your defense get a stop? You know what I mean? And it's like the NBA. It's like everything is offensive analytics, but you're going to win the championship based on your ability not to hold someone to the 70s or 80s, but can you get a stop when you need it?
Right.
Like, defensively, can you play good enough defense to get a stop?
Can you play man defense in the NBA? Can you man up?
Yeah, just
because you can't play zone.
I mean, you can, but you're gonna get killed.
You're gonna die.
Yeah, you'll get, and you can in a regular season game on a couple trips, but you can't sustain zone defense in the NBA. Quickly, just talking about the other bracket, the Rams versus the 49ers. The interesting thing about that game for me was the fact that it was so many 49er fans that there were times where it was like the crowd was making noise while the Rams were on offense.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's wild to be in a NFC Championship game and have to contend with that. Ultimately, I think it's not a play that you can point to, but I think one of the things that was exposed during this NFC Championship games, NFC and AFC, is quarterback play. And there was one quarterback who didn't belong, and it was Jimmy Garoppolo. And there's been a lot of discussion, and I give the 49ers a lot of credit for going to get the guy that they think can lead them to the future. And even I saw, and this is not substantiated, but I saw it on the crawl on ESPN earlier today that Garoppolo has said that Lynch has been clear that they're moving on from him and he wants to be traded to a good team. And I get it, but Garoppolo is kind of the reason they're not better. He is an average or below average player. He reminds me a lot of Trubisky. They look alike, they wear the same number, and I know that's kind of a lazy comparison, but their limitations will keep they'll make a great team good.
And he's more limited because he's not as mobile.
Facts.
So, and he threw 50%.
And he's injury prone.
Right. And he threw 50% in the NFC Championship game. So all of those woes that, some of the 49ers fans were limited.
Tab, who we had on the show, and he was going off.
It came home to roost. And their defense couldn't lift them past it.
Because in the game before, they had special teams, blocks,
the special team touchdown was
punts,
different.
picks, like all kinds of stuff that you use. And if you go back, not to always make everything about my Bears, but you go back to 2018 when the Bears were making a run where we were 13-3 or 12-4, whatever our record was that year. The defense was doing those sorts of things and putting Trubisky in short field situations. And, man, it was like people confuse that with a guy making plays. And you see it now. You saw it in this week's games. Real quarterback play. Matt Stafford is shutting a lot of people, shutting me up. I've been on my platform here talking stuff about Staff and whether or not he could, exercise those demons. He made some throws. He's been making throws all season. If we're being honest, he's been making plays all year.
And he's like, I was making those throws in Detroit. Y'all just didn't see it. I mean, he left Detroit. OBJ left Cleveland.
Yeah.
Lives got better.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't argue. I'm a results guy. You can't argue with the results. I think the thing about Odell Beckham Jr. that I'm just not buying, like there's a lot of people that you and I know that particularly in the barbershop part of the conversation about, see, I told you it wasn't him. I told you. Listen, there are certain guys, because I remember people used to say that about Dez. People said it about AB. There's a certain personality type that plays wide receiver that is just disruptive to your team culture. And Odell Beckham Jr., I'm sorry, he is one of those guys. It doesn't mean he can't play, because everyone takes the decision for a team to move on from a guy like that as an indication of someone going, he can't play anymore. I don't think anybody said that Odell Beckham couldn't play. It's can he produce within the culture that you're trying to create on your team? And if culture is more important, which it is in football, teams decide to move on from certain type of players. And then there's people who go, I told you he could play. I told you he could play. Nobody ever said he couldn't run. Nobody ever said he couldn't catch. And I guarantee you this, he is not a long-term solution. There's very few examples of guys who, particularly wide receivers, who are disruptive in the locker room, disruptive to the team culture, that sustain and get to a new place and go, I'm going to straighten up and fly right. Because he didn't even do it. AB didn't even do it in New England, which is where everybody goes to get right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that but Odell feels like an LA guy. He feels like, I mean, the way he do his hair, he got the LA hairstyle, he got the watches during the game. I mean, it just feels like, and it also feels like a city big enough.
Yeah.
To house a personality like that.
Different stars
lots of places to hide in LA. Lots of different places to be. You can be off in the cut. Cleveland, small city, and I just don't necessarily feel like, and there wasn't the leadership structure in place to house a guy like that. With LA, you have Sean McVay, who has fostered a culture there that has been pretty strong.
Yeah.
And this will obviously be their second trip to the Super Bowl
in 5 years.
And so you got guys coming in like Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, Matthew Stafford, guys coming in just finding prospering. And I think that Odell Beckham has been a part.
But I'll say this, and I'll go absolutely on record. I don't think he's a long-term answer. I don't think Odell Beckham is a long-term answer anywhere.
Well,
I think he's a team disruptor.
Well,
he's a me guy.
If they could find a way to structure his salary, because he's not going to get paid more than Cooper Kupp, I think it could work.
And that's the other thing too. And I'll say this in closing because we got to get to the real important stuff. No one talks about the fact that, you know, when they're talking about this vindicate, I've seen so many things. This is vindicating for him. This is vindicating for him. His behavior has cost him tens of millions of dollars. He's playing. This is a guy who took I think is a $500,000 salary that he's playing for this year, took it in Bitcoin. Bitcoin
is plummeting.
It's actually rebounding a little bit the last couple of days, but even the value of what he got is worth. I think he's playing for like $27,000 right about now, based on taking his stuff in Bitcoin. So it's like, listen, they may re-sign him, they may not. He may have. I think on a larger scale, because I always look at things from the agent's point of view because I represent talent. Is what is the market for him moving forward? And no matter what, he's on a prove-it deal next year again, and he shouldn't be. He's still in his 20s.
Yeah.
He should not be on a prove-it deal.
Still in his prime.
That's the issue that I have. And he only has – people can sit back and go blame Baker Mayfield, blame the Giants. He's the reason he's on a prove-it deal.
But particularly with the Giants, where he led the league in targets, you know.
Yes.
And was saying that he wasn't getting the ball enough.
Yeah.
I think that to me, that, and when he did the interview with Josina Anderson and Lil Wayne, talking about, you know, Eli Manning and there's some more things that we could be doing. Like, you can't say that when you're leading the league in targets.
Yeah, that's just come on.
It didn't make sense. And then when he went to Cleveland, obviously, you know, you saw. I mean, but again, most people, particularly minorities in Cleveland, don't prosper. So I will give him.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Well, you look at
minorities in Cleveland.
Look, Jim Brown left. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but he prospered.
Yes, he left to go do movies. Like he.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with Cleveland?
Cleveland is not.
Cleveland is not a great place.
Exactly, where minorities can prosper.
No, that's the part I disagree with. I don't know what minorities have to do with it.
Look,
Cleveland's not great.
Look at Bone Thugs and Harmony. Bone Thugs and Harmony didn't do what they were supposed to do.
They prospered.
They had to leave. They had to go to L.A.
Everybody got to leave. I left Chicago.
So I'm saying OBJ had to leave. No,
he had to leave.
You didn't have to leave Chicago.
I did have to leave Chicago.
Oprah went to Chicago and prospered.
I mean, yeah, Oprah did. That's like the rare exception. Everybody else got to leave.
Michael Jordan went there and prospered.
Michael Jordan got drafted there and prospered.
Derrick Rose didn't have to leave.
I mean, he left. He gone. He got his, you know, look. Sometimes you got to leave where you're from. I will.
Hey.
You're going to have to, in our own personal time, you're going to have to explain to me the connection between minority failing and Cleveland. Like, Cleveland.
Is a tough place for black folk to be.
Cleveland's a tough place for anybody.
That's why you got to get the hell out.
The white folks in Cleveland need to leave Cleveland.
Hey, Baker might need to do.
Listen, Cleveland has its struggles. Proud city. Like my man Joe Kim Nova said, like, I don't see anything special about Cleveland. I don't hear anybody say they want to go vacation in Cleveland. It's all true.
That's why LeBron had to leave.
Anyway, before I just want to point one thing out real quick, and you sort of, when you said LeBron, you made me think of this. Andy Reid has been to the championship game in either conference 8 times. He's lost 5 of them. At some point, you have to wear that, and in my mind, I go, that's some LeBron James shit, like where you get there, but you just don't have the numbers to support whatever the next level is. Wherever they're measuring the greatness at the next level of winning, when you're losing more in those big situations, you got to wear that too. He reminded me, when I heard that stat, I immediately thought of LeBron. Listen, let's talk about. And we sort of waited to talk about this, but this is the thing that's really happening today that's a little bit more on a serious note. This Brian Flores situation, if you don't know, Brian Flores, a former coach of the Miami Dolphins, a product of Bill Belichick, New England Patriots, is suing the NFL, all 32 teams, named 3 teams, specifically in the suit: Denver, New York Giants and I guess the Miami Dolphins for racial discrimination, and then Jane Doe'd the other 29 teams.
The rest of them.
The rest of them. And has been making the rounds on television explaining his lawsuit. There's a lot to unpack. The things that he is accusing the Giants, the Denver Broncos, first and foremost, is basically making the Rooney Rule a sham, which we have talked about. We, like 2 episodes ago, talked about, and I know the Joe Judge thing has been particularly stuck in your craw.
For me, yes.
And we talked, I think we said, it's the ever-changing, the moving goalpost. And I think this is what this particular lawsuit is about, is why did Brian Flores lose his job? Why did he not get another one? And I think it's ripping the Band-Aid off of a lot of things that black people have felt, those of us who are in the trenches, like not as in the game, but like looking and studying the game. What's your take? Because I know you have very strong feelings about it, and I'm gonna sit back and let you really get into how you feel about Brian's lawsuit and the way black coaches are looked at. I'm gonna let you have your thing. Go ahead and let the people know. Tell the people how you feel.
Tell the people. Speak to the babies. Well, if you guys don't know, so Brian Flores was supposed to interview for the Giants job and received a text from Bill Belichick. The text was congratulating Brian Flores on getting the job. He had not interviewed yet. He was 3 days away from interviewing. So that caused him to go, you got the right guy? And so Bill Belichick was like, yeah, I've been hearing from the Bills that, you Bills and the Giants can basically let me know that you got the job. Well, it was actually meant for Brian DeBall,
the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Now the head coach of the Giants.
Coach, and he was 3 days away, he being Brian Flores, from interviewing. So this was, I believe, obviously the straw that broke the camel's back for Brian Flores. This is a guy who last year went 10-6 with Fitzpatrick and Tua.
Right, now 2 years ago, right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the defense wasn't a problem in Miami.
Right.
Now, from what we understand is that him and Stephen Ross have had an icy relationship ever since. If you guys aren't aware, he wanted Brian Flores to recruit Tom Brady, allegedly recruit Tom Brady to the Miami Dolphins, and they had a meeting set up on a yacht, which the unnamed quarterback was just supposed to happen to pull his yacht up, and Brian Flores left once he figured out what was going on, and from then on out,
because it was tampering because he was still under contract.
Correct, and so he left, and so from that moment, him and Stephen Ross have basically been at odds. At odds. The lawsuit is, I'm a little bit conflicted on, because he's risking everything. He's going the Curt Flood route for, and if you guys don't know who Curt Flood is, Curt Flood is basically the father of free agency. He was a baseball player for the St. Louis Cardinals who fought for free agency as we know it today. And it cost him his career. And Brian Flores is essentially going about the same route. And so I'm conflicted in that regard, meaning that this dude may not coach again because he's going to be looked at as, litigious.
Yes.
And I think that for me, of course, we all have properly identified that there's been racial disparity, discrimination going on in hirings of defensive coordinators, period, in the NFL, and obviously head coaches. So for me, yes, I'm afraid for him. I'm rooting for him, but what I don't want to happen is this somehow go away. Somehow this gets resolved from a settlement standpoint, and I don't want the NFL is a big bad machine, and I feel it's a bravery that I don't know that I could have shown in this moment.
Oh no, I can say, just to use this as a point of reset, I can say definitively I would not have done this.
And
he's 40 years old. I think he has a young family. He's still a young man. He has lots of earning ahead of him. And I don't think he'll never coach again. I think it'll be very difficult for him to be a head coach at the highest level. Maybe coordinator jobs, maybe jobs in college, that sort of thing. I think, and I said the same thing when Kaepernick took his stand. I said he'll never play again. He'll never get another
why
job.
Do you feel like he'll coach again, and why did you feel like Kaepernick would never play again?
For a couple of reasons. I said this then and I'll say this now. The NFL, if they feel like you can help them, they'll make a way. Like Joe Mixon is about to go to the Super Bowl. Somebody will bring up the fact that he punched a white girl in college. But for the most part, it'll be forgotten. There's guys all throughout the league that have done terrible things. If you can run fast, didn't Tyreek Hill break his girlfriend's son's arm or something like that?
It was his son.
Or his son.
Yeah. Their son.
Their son. But we only think about his touchdowns. That's the NFL. I said then that Colin Kaepernick, because he wasn't coming off a great season, wasn't playing well, and he seemed to be a system player that needed all those things in place, the offensive coordinator and all that kind of stuff. Not dissimilar from Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, which is why they're, not to get off on that, but why they're sort of debating what his value is in a contract because it is system-based. He didn't have those things going for him at that point. There was no value for him around the league unless you were willing to bring the coaching staff that was going to make that system. So it was easy to kind of discard him. And there were things about him that even issues with his teammates that if you were paying attention, he wasn't super well liked. I think this is very, very different. I saw Brian Flores on TV this morning. Very credible. A guy who speaks a lot about integrity. That sort of thing matters to him. Truth matters to him. Really serious man, insightful man. I think those are the type of things that'll have maybe a college program go that's looking to get a rebuild, that's looking to create something go, we want that guy to lead us. And they'll deal with the heat that comes along with accusing the NFL of racism. Now, here's the reality. He ain't the first one to accuse the NFL of racism. We do it all the time.
But he's the first one to go on record.
But he's the first one to go on record with a lawsuit. Now, here's the other thing. This never gets to court. Nothing with the NFL ever gets to court. You know why? They don't like depositions. Because depositions, truth come out. Depositions, exhibits come in, emails come in, text messages come in.
Roger Goodell is on the phone right now, working out a couple of black head coaching hires.
Oh, of course, that's the quick answer. And I think
you got any black ones coming in today?
Yeah, no, and I think here's what I think we can fast forward to what the solutions will look like, because this is where we'll end up. Jay-Z, I'm anticipating, will have a seat at the table and a voice in what is a new rule and a new sort of mechanism to rigorously recruit.
And he owns a 33rd team.
I mean, look, I don't know how Jay gonna parlay it for himself.
Brian gonna be a coach.
But what Jay will do is be a part, and they need this. They got to have somebody who has credibility in our community that just sort of tamps the heat down
the entire time. Racism and all of these things that we've been seeing going on, on the back of the helmets.
Yeah.
But the hirings and the practice have remained the same.
Now the X factor is, if Brian Flores goes, look, there's no settlement that you can give me, but there was a settlement that they gave Colin Kaepernick quietly. Nice. He got his money. Yeah. But he also lost his platform. Whatever he's doing, I ain't heard about it. I mean, I'm sure he's fighting racial injustice, but I'm not plugged in.
Yeah, and the Giants released a statement basically saying we're happy and satisfied with the process that resulted in our coach. And I was like, you mean, is that the same process that got you Joe Judge?
Yeah, and the fact that I think what they're doing, I think what was telling in that statement is that because they're basically saying we interviewed other minority coaches, so we satisfied that Rooney Rule.
They interviewed him.
Yeah, but the allegedly the decision had already been made before they did. So They're saying even without that, we had a couple other minority candidates that we interviewed.
I think it's going to be hard for him to prove that it's race-based, though. To prove it.
Of course, but that's the abstract nature of racism. I think what they're going, this is where it's dangerous for the NFL, right? Is that if it goes to court and if Brian Flores is like, look, I'm willing to blow myself up to make this happen, we know what happens when you start to pull people's text messages, their emails. You see it with the Gruden case, in the Washington case. There's things that came out of that the NFL, I mean, the Adam Schefter, how did Adam Schefter skate through all of that stuff? With
What I miss?
I guess, and I didn't do.
Don't tell me Schefter.
No, what Schefter was doing was running his stories by the people in the Redskins. I think it was in the Redskins organization, running his stories before, the Commanders now, running his stories through to make sure they were cool and to give them a chance to yay or nay them, which goes against everything journalistic.
Yeah, that ain't supposed to be. That ain't supposed to. You supposed to bring the hot takes and the hot.
Yeah, well, but Schefter is such an insider that it's way more important for him to have information first, break the stories, and so you start to get compromised. Like, he's bogus, but he sort of slipped through. The NFL, and you said it best when we started this segment, they're a big, dangerous, bad-ass dude on the block, and they're going to find a way to get through this. But it'll be a lot of window dressing. I very much anticipate Jay being involved. I think they're going to come out with a new process, a new revised Rooney Rule. They're going to give a whole watch what I'm saying is true. I'm saying this on this date, the early February.
Bring Kaepernick back.
They're not going to bring Cap back, but there'll be a huge amount of influx of cash into the football programs and the HBCUs. There's going to be a lot of things that address, because we got to get the coaching ranks
and the hirings that take place in the next couple of days. Whoever they are, whether it be Leftwich, they owe that. They're gonna owe that to Brian Flores.
Yeah, and listen, I don't know
on a de facto.
I don't know if we're too far to turn around in these last few jobs, because I think,
bro, if they give Josh McCown that Houston job with zero coaching experience,
and that was one of the things that I had on my notes to speak about, is that they're literally interviewing.
He's the favorite.
A guy who has no coaching experience. So let's address that. I have to address
tell the people
our white listenership, because I'm part of a lot of message boards, and one of the things that I routinely hear from white fans is that, why don't they have the right to hire the best guy? It's their team. They should be able to hire who they want to hire. And we're not doing our jobs if we don't address that, because we can offer a different perspective. Because I know if you're not thinking about it, like, that seems reasonable. Like, if you're not really looking at it from the other side, that seems reasonable to think that, hey, they should be able to hire who they want. Here's the problem. Everybody doesn't have equal access. It's a lot of nepotism in college coaching. If your name was Schottenheimer, you got to look. If your name was Shanahan, you were the son of Mike. You got to look. If you were a Shula, if you were a Shula, you got.
If your name ended in a vowel.
Yeah, if you were Shula, you got jobs. Like, I don't know if Don Shula, may he rest in peace, I don't know if either one of his sons,
Mike
or David, were really good coaching candidates, but they both got.
Alabama fan, they probably tell you no.
Yeah, and I mean, David coached the Bengals.
Oh, I forgot about that.
There's a lot of nepotism. I know Charlie Weiss's son kind of grew up. And here's the thing, though. These guys they're coaches' kids. I mean, they're growing up in the locker room the way I grew up in a recording studio. So I'm not saying that they don't have the right to be there or get the opportunity. But there's other kids who grew up with their dads, too, that are close to the game and around the game, that don't have the same opportunity. A lot of these guys are getting there strictly off of nepotism, strictly off of who knows who in the whole nine.
So you look at. I was thinking about this, right? Because players in particular have taken up this mantle the whole time, particularly position coaches, from your Nortons to you name it. And there seems to be this, not a narrative, but you notice that you look at judges. You can't be a judge unless you've practiced law, right? You can't be a doctor unless you've been in the field. You can't do surgery. But coaching, particularly in the NFL, like, they allow you to start off in the film room. They allow you to start off in the most ancillary position and then work your way up. Whereas a player who's actually been on the field has had to actually, be in these situations, be in these big games, knows how, particularly, middle linebackers and other quarterbacks who have had to lead teams, lead a side of the field. They don't have these same opportunities. And to me, it does speak to race. It does, because you look at the NBA. The NBA they do have a few guys who, your Mike Fratellos who never played. But if you look at on the whole, a lot of those guys have played. Your Byron Scotts, your Nate McMillans. They're way more progressive in looking inward to the workforce, the guys that actually play to hire those guys, and they've had success. And I just the NFL doesn't work like that.
I would push back on this one fine point that you're making. I don't think that all the time, and obviously there's no absolutes. I don't think all the time former players necessarily make great coaches. There is a
think that they would at least have a leg up on the guy who's starting out in the film.
But let me say this,
like the Josh McDaniels.
Let me bring it around to where you are. I think there is a through line to coaching from the standpoint of guys who actually watch the game more. So I think you see a lot of backup quarterbacks end up being good coaches. A lot of guys that weren't,
played.
But yeah, the guys that weren't great players that had to really sort of break the game down. But where I think the real opportunity is missed is I think ex-players know players. I think there should be way more players looked at for front office, GM, assistant GM, those type of jobs. Because ballers know ballers.
And they know the game.
But sometimes the teaching, the leadership, like there's other elements that go into.
I agree. Magic had a tough time.
Exactly. There's other elements. That's all I'm saying. I'm not even disagreeing with you. I'm saying there's other factors that go into whether or not somebody could be a coach. But if you're in player evaluation, I don't think there's anybody to evaluate a player better than a baller.
So you look at, like, they're saying that they're happy with, the Giants, and they hired the guy who they said they felt was most qualified. He's a coordinator. Brian Flores has been a job for 3 years. I've been a head coach for 3 years.
And successful.
And it's successful.
Yeah.
Yes. So, you look at that and you go, qualified.
Yeah.
I mean, was Joe Judge more qualified than Bill Bieniemy?
Oh, listen, we're going to – the whole qualified thing is a joke. What it comes down to is that I think there's a sense amongst fans, and I think that we're naive if we don't think this plays a factor with GMs and people who make decisions, that they want to put people – in these jobs. There's a sense that there's natural competency that shows up with being white, and that there's a natural, I don't want to say incompetency, but something that has to be overcome when you're black. When it's really like, nah, if you level everything out, traits are traits. Whether you black or white, you either have the traits to coach or you don't. Coaches are coaches. Like, there's some people who just have that thing. I don't think they're disproportionate. How can the game be 70-30 on the field and then be that disproportionate at everything that happens above it?
I mean, do you think that Brian DeBall can do what Deion's doing down at JSU? Do you think that
could he turn that? Could he like? Yeah. And you talking about with Neil and everything? You're talking about NIL and everything, or
and with the coaching record?
I think that Brian DeBall or any NFL, anybody who's worked their way into those situations can go and in the right situation find their way to things, to success. What the real issue is who has access to those opportunities. Like, that's what it really comes down to, because I am not of the belief that you got to be a white guy to be able to lead men and to be able to teach football. You don't have to be. Like, that's the thing that we got to work past. And you have to, like, anything that's off, you got to correct. So miss me with the affirmative action tweets, miss me with all of that stuff. Things that are messed up have to be fixed. They have to be compensated back the other way. If you're fat, you got to eat a lot less calories to get skinny. You don't get to keep doing the same thing and lose weight. That's what this is. It's messed up. It's fractured. It's beat up. It needs to be fixed.
I think I can't even add to that.
I mean, look. This is ongoing. It's a bombshell because there was other things that came out. Because here's the other thing that came out, right? Is that Stephen Ross allegedly asked Brian Flores to drop games to increase
$100K per game.
increase the probability of getting the number one pick or top picks or whatever.
Happened to be Joe Burrow, yeah.
Yeah. And man, he might have should have did that.
He might have should have. Hey, they lost, they lost 11 games.
They did lose, but they were winning because they beat New England at the end of the season.
Did they give him the 1.1?
Hey, but listen,
they lost 11 games. Brian, did you get your bread?
Hey, but he should have lost a couple. He might still be coaching.
He got 3 years. He got 2 additional years.
Hey, okay. That aside.
That's where your integrity got you messed up. I'm just being real with you, folks. I mean, you had your first year. You could have went 0-16. You probably could have went back.
Yeah, but they played. I remember watching them.
Integrity. That's a cut.
I made some money with the Dolphins, playing hard. But it goes to the point though, and I'm happy. I love the way he explained it on ESPN. He said, "Look, it was a no way, no possible." He's like, anytime I step on the field, I'm trying to win, and I think athletes are the same way. Like, I don't think there's no player that's going, like a fan would be like, go ahead and lose. Because your pride's on the line. Your workout, like your off-season workouts, the surgeries you take, the pain-killing shots you take, that's your career. That's your life. You're not going to go out there and try to lose or not give your best when those things, and just what you put on film is how you get paid.
And then once you get in the heat of the battle, you talking noise. You're like, hey, look here. You ain't finna whoop my ass.
Yeah. Like
takes over.
No, that absolutely takes over. It's like if we went out and played one-on-one right now, something takes over in terms of you trying to win. Yeah. And so I don't believe that anybody was trying to dump games, and I love the way Brian Flores answered that, but it ended up putting them at more at odds, in that relationship, and he got blown out.
$100,000 a game is not a lot.
Not for Stephen Ross.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah. Hey, bro, you got come on in. 250 at least.
But you're not saying that. You're just going. So I think there's a lot here. I don't think this is the end of it. I think there's and I don't know the young woman's name, but I saw her tweet from the Cleveland organization that a similar thing was happening in Cleveland where she added the Browns, she added Hugh Jackson, she named DePodesta. I think DePodesta added the names of people who, and she said she got receipts of trying to dump games. And then Hugh subtweeted it I stand by, I said what I said. So I think, because here's the other thing that's
real. Join the class action.
Well, here's the thing that I think when it comes to that, quote unquote losing games, and the owners saying that, is that at a time when the NFL is embracing sports betting, you don't want a conversation going on about throwing games and tanking games. Like, that's all bad. And I don't know if I'm the first person to look at it from this perspective, but when we start to dig underneath this, that if you got two organizations that from the top down was sending some messaging, now this is alleged, because this is a bombshell thing, so I'm going to stick with the alleged part for right now. But if there's any truth to that, this is all bad. That's why I'm saying this is going to get capped off.
The guys could end up losing their whole team.
Yes.
This could go the way of the Clippers.
Donald Sterling. Yeah. This is going to get capped off, but look for, I would, just in closing, I would say it'd probably be good to be an HBCU right about now, because I think there's going to be some checks. I believe that the beneficiary of all this will be some HBCUs getting some checks from the NFL.
Deion getting the first one. Tennessee State getting one. Grambling State getting one.
To build the minority coaching infrastructure and things like, I think even with the black college, the HBCU combines that are going on right now, you're going to see them invest in things that are specifically black.
That's going to be on the NFL Network.
Exactly. Real talk. Like, you're going to see things start to step up because it's too much money at stake. The NFL is a monster. They're a super yacht just going through the sea, and nothing's going to stop them. But this could be a lot of bad publicity with certain sponsors and stuff like that. So I look for them to get a handle on this, and they just better hope they go sit down with Brian Flores real quick and just go, hey, man, Just don't talk so much.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hey.
How much can we give you to just stop talking?
Come on in here. It's nice and warm.
It's nice and warm.
Whiskey. All you
All you want. It's terrible. Do you think about Trading Places, how racist that was? I mean, that movie was hella racist.
It was, but I'm just gonna be, if I'm the Dukes and I'm somebody walking out of jail, I would think whiskey may tempt him to get inside my limo.
You couldn't tempt me at any point in my life with whiskey.
But it's a convicted felon coming down.
Are they more predisposed to enjoying whiskey? Like, why not give him some money?
I mean, you've been making.
Why not give him something to eat?
Because I'm just trying to get you inside. So maybe
With whiskey and cigars.
You could probably use a drink.
Didn't he grab all? Why did he grab all the cigars? Like,
he grabbed it like he thought they would, like the Duke brothers thought they would.
But what?
He had it both arms like this.
Are convicted felons more likely to smoke cigars? I smoke cigars. I didn't start smoking cigars until I got some money.
Felon, he was homeless.
Then what does he need with a cigar? You know how many things I have to smoke cigars?
You just want things.
Lighters and ashtrays and humidors, and he don't have no place to live. What's he grabbing the cigars for?
Well, hey, I mean, it's just it was a peace offering to start the conversation. You just coming out.
Maybe the whiskey.
Have a whiskey and a drink.
I think he should have got some gift cards to some of the local restaurants.
Gift cards back then.
They didn't have no gift cards?
Back then.
Gift certificates. They had those.
Yeah.
Like little tear out things to go to McDonald's. Hey, I'd have got some McDonald's gift certificates.
Whiskey.
All you want. Like, yeah, you can sit there and just get passed out drunk messing with the Dukes. And that's why he was like, man, what y'all trying to do something to me? Anyways.
What's my next move, man?
Anyways, one of the greatest holiday movies, by the way.
Definitely a holiday.
Did you watch that over the holidays?
No, I did not.
I didn't either. And I meant to. Next holidays, next Christmas.
I watched it throughout the year, though.
That's true. It was racist, though.
Oh, yeah.
There was things in the early 80s that we accepted that you couldn't do today. You couldn't make Trading Places today.
No. You couldn't even.
You get canceled. That would get canceled in pre-production. Like, the world would hear about that in pre-production on IMDb, and they'd be like, nah, we're not doing that. Lord. Anyways, listen, this is a good place to break. We have not heard the last of this. In fact, when we were talking about where to reach us and where to connect, the one thing that I neglected to mention, which is probably the most important of all of them, go to Fanbase, sign up for a Fanbase, and follow me, follow Rob at Fanbase, because over there we will be hosting live discussions all the time on various subjects. This is one of the ones we're going to be talking about over the next several days. So come, if you want to interact with us about this Brian Flores discussion or anything that we've talked about today or anything that we put as a subject matter, come in and engage with us. This is your opportunity. And actually, the way we're handling our rooms is that we really want to hear from you. We listen to each other talk all the time. We want you guys to come in and share your views and thoughts with us and maybe even get some stuff into the show that we hear there, and we'll shout you out and do the whole nine. But go to the Fanbase app. It's a new social media app that's really, really dope. It allows us to create and monetize from our content. And one of the things that I don't know if people realize, that if you're in our room, and I've done this, if you're in our room and we're talking and you say something that's bomb, I can tip you for coming with a dope comment. And I will tip you. And send money your way. So we have the ability, just based on, they call them loves, but like just send you love in a financial way. So just you being there talking and like making a bomb ass point will allow us to like exchange money with you. So it's an opportunity for your content, your points of view, and all that to make you some money. Listen, if it's $5, maybe we could buy you coffee for tomorrow at Starbucks, but it's more than what you was gonna get over at some of the other places where they do this sort of thing. So, no shade to the other places, but we're definitely making a commitment to Fanbase. So if you get a chance, go sign up for Fanbase, become a fan at Fanbase, become a subscriber there, and then check into us and subscribe to the content that we're putting over there. Download it. So this episode, as all our episodes, will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify for audio, and YouTube for video. And you can reach us on all our social media platforms, like we said before, Instagram, Fanbase, of course, Fanbase for sure, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. So listen, this is a serious discussion. Please check in the comments and engage with us on it. Rob, I know you have a lot of strong feelings about this. I think you shared them amazing, And we're going to talk about this again. This is not going to be the last time we discuss this.
Absolutely.
We want to see change. Like, even part of what we're doing is to add a voice to the space, because even there's too few of us that actually have a space where we can discuss the issues from our perspective. And I think now it's like it's right in the middle of like what we've been feeling for a long time. And a lot of people who sit where we sit have seen this unfairness. And we want to shout out to Brian Flores. It took a lot of courage to do what you did. This may not end up good for you in the short term, but there's going to be a lot of people who benefit from it in the long term. So thank you, bro. So on behalf of my partner, my esteemed partner.
My hiccup. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. And shout out to his hiccups. You did great. I don't even know how that happens, like medically, but you did a great job of fighting through that too. So I appreciate you fighting through your hiccups, but we needed to get this out. So on behalf of my partner, Rob Hunter Jr., I'm Marquis Stewart. This is Stat Lines Matter.
Peace.
Bad boy. I ain't come for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my face. I ain't come for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my face.